The topic that we are going to discuss today is metaphor and embodied experience. In this topic, we are going to learn about metaphor. Before, also, you have been very much acquainted with this concept while dealing with literature or dealing with some sort of grammatical topics. But here, we are concerned with the fact that how metaphor can add different additional meanings and how and why it is important to understand metaphorical expressions when it comes to anthropological linguistics, how metaphors can vary from culture to culture, from language to language, and if you have knowledge about the usage and impact of metaphorical expressions, you will get to know that language in a better way. So let's start the topic. So, our major topic is metaphor and embodied experience, the intersection of language and perception. What is embodied experience? Embodied experience means an experience or a perception that you can perceive through your physical senses. Anything that you can see, feel, touch, that gives you a physical sense of thing. So that thing is often compared with the things which are present in your imagination. So that we are going to discuss today. As far as metaphor is concerned, let's have a little bit introduction of metaphor. Metaphor and embodied experience are interconnected concepts that offer profound insights into how language shapes our understanding of the world and how our bodily experiences influence the way we use and comprehend language. What does metaphor do? It enables us to understand and conceptualize abstract concepts, sometimes to give a better explanation of some idea which is not physical. We have to give some concrete examples that a person can feel or he knows physically, so that he better is able to understand that concept by analogy. Why, as teachers, we use analogies or examples? So that we can give a sample to the students or to the listener, so that he can better understand from his previous experience of something. So in that way, he will better understand the idea that we are going to explain. So what is embodied experience? It is, on the other hand, emphasizes the role of our physical and sensory perceptions in shaping our cognition and language use. What we can see, feel through our senses, that actually comes automatically in our understanding. That the thing that we can see and feel, we are better able to understand that idea or concept. Whereas there are certain ideas or things which are abstract, which you have never seen, which you can only conceptualize. So to understand those ideas, you have to have better examples, better analogies. So in this topic, we will see the relationship between metaphor and embodied experience, that how our bodily interactions with the world influence the metaphors we employ. Sometimes what we see physically or what we can feel physically, that can influence our understanding of the metaphor and the use of language. So it is a fundamental cognitive mechanism. Metaphor is a cognitive mechanism. It is a method that actually enables us or help us to make sense of complex or abstract ideas. What we do, we create parallels between two things with more and what we make a parallel or comparison between one seen thing and one seemingly similar thing which is not physical. We try to find the similarities or similar aspects of a physical thing and of a non-physical thing, so that we can understand abstract through physical. So it enables us to understand the target domain in terms of source domain. Target domain is metaphor, and source target domain is the thing that you want to understand, the idea that you want to understand, and source domain is metaphor, the thing that or the idea that you use to explain the idea, right? Conceptual metaphor theory, it is given by George Lakoff and Mark Johnson. He posits that metaphor is not just a linguistic device but a persuasive aspect of human thought. They argue that metaphors structure our understanding of the world because we try to understand things by the use of metaphor. We try to make things clear by giving metaphors, metaphorical expressions. When you make metaphorical expressions, you are actually making it easier for the person to understand the complex ideas. There is a universality and cultural variability of metaphor. Every culture has, different cultures may have similar metaphors, they have similar use of metaphors. If you translate one metaphor into some other language, you can translate it. But sometimes there are some metaphors which cannot be translated because they have a cultural effect. They only exist in one particular culture. For example, there is a saying that love is a journey. Actually, love is not a journey, but you are just calling love a journey. So it is a metaphor and it is universal. Whenever, if you want to translate this metaphorical expression in any language, you can do that. But there are some metaphors which are culturally specific, which cannot be translated because the persons of that society have not experienced that phenomena. Now let's talk about embodied experience. What is embodied cognition? Embodied is coming from physical. So embodied cognition suggests that our bodily experience and sensory perceptions, the things we see, we feel, we taste, we touch by our senses, they actually help us to shape our understanding or to help us to understand different ideas. So whatever we see physically, whatever we can feel physically, that can influence our understanding of the abstract concepts. And that is how we will learn to speak about those things. Now, what is embodied simulation? Embodied simulation is the process by which our perceptual and motor experience, what are perceptual thinking and motor experience is the process, the things that we like, we make bodily movements, we walk, we move our hands, they are reused to understand and conceptualize abstract concepts. For example, to understand metaphor, grasp an idea. Can you catch an idea physically? No, you cannot get and go and catch the idea, but there is a metaphorical expression, grasping an idea. So it involves drawing on a bodily experience of physically grasping objects. You can know that you can catch things. You can go and catch a sparrow. You can go and catch a mango. Grasp a mango. Grasp a sparrow. But you cannot actually grab the idea. But sometimes you can make use of your bodily simulation, embodied simulation, to just explain that you can think, you can have some idea, right? What is embodied metaphor? Embodied metaphor posits that metaphorical language is grounded in our bodily experiences or physical interactions with the environment that provide the basis of understanding and expressing abstract concepts in concrete terms. Actually, to explain abstract ideas, you make use of your embodied experiences so that you can understand the abstract. It is about understanding abstract through concrete. What is embodied metaphor in language? There are some metaphors of motion which explains motion, such as up. When you are feeling good, when you are feeling happy, you say up, chin up, right? And when you are feeling down, nobody can feel down otherwise physically, but if you are feeling sad, it is said that you are feeling down. So it is actually, this example or this metaphorical expression has been taken from your embodied experience of spatial orientation, physical movements, like you can feel, you can go up, you can come down. So similarly, you can feel up or you can feel down, right? There are some metaphors of emotions, like he is boiling with anger. Everybody knows that a person cannot boil, right? But boiling with anger means that he is obsessed, overly obsessed with anger, or she is full of joy. So these are the expressions which are actually metaphors of emotions. She's full of joy like the vase is full of flowers. So you cannot contain joy within your body, but it is a metaphorical expression, which are called metaphors of emotions. They are used to connect emotional experiences with physical sensations and bodily states. There are some metaphors of time. Time metaphors often draw on our embodied experience of motion with phrases like the future is ahead of us. Okay, future हमारे सामने खड़ा है, but actually future is never ahead of us. It is not just in front of us or behind us, but behind us means that it is gone. Past is behind us means the past has been gone, but behind is the usage of direction of time. So you use directions to show time. Cultural variability and embodied metaphors, how they differ in different cultures. Like in embodied metaphors, they are grounded in universal bodily experiences. Their cultural expressions may vary. So different cultures, they deal metaphors in different ways because some metaphors are cultural specific. Then cross-cultural studies of embodied metaphors, and in that we explore how different societies express embodied metaphors in language and how cultural values, like it is very simple concept. There are some expressions or metaphors or idioms that you only use in your language that you cannot translate into some other language very easily. Like if I give you one example, it is of no use to cry over spilt milk, right? So can you just exactly translate that into Urdu? No. But we have an alternative for that metaphor. That is, अब पछताए क्या हो जब चिड़ियाँ चुग गई खेत, right? So we have similar metaphors that cannot be exactly translated from one language to other. That is the difference of cultural embodied metaphors. The power of metaphor and embodied experience. So the use of metaphors is not only helpful in communication but actually in shaping how we perceive and understand the world. The use of specific metaphors can influence our cognitive processes and shape our beliefs and attitudes. Metaphors can also play a very important role in decision making and behavior. How? Because they can frame our abstract concepts in familiar and relatable terms. When they create our concepts, so by our concepts we are driven. So that is why it can change our behavior, our decision making. It can make us do something or it can stop us from doing something. They can be used and they are widely used as poetic or literary expressions, and you have always studied about them after reading every poem. They are always used in literature and poetry to evoke emotions, create vivid imagery, pictures, and engage readers in deeper levels of meaning, sometimes to shock the reader, sometimes to grab their attention. You have to use metaphors. Education and language learning also there is a wide use of metaphor in language learning and teaching because they are used to provide concrete and relatable examples of abstract concepts. Sometimes you have to explain abstract ideas. For that you have to use metaphors from physical world. Cross-cultural communication, recognizing cultural variations in embodied metaphors can promote. If you want to understand a better language in a better way, you have to understand their metaphorical expressions which are culturally specific so that we may avoid the misunderstandings of language. In cognitive sciences and linguistics, how it is helpful. So studying embodied metaphors offer valuable insights into the relationship between language, cognition and body. When you understand language, understanding human mind, use of human mind and body, it can advance our understanding of human thought process. It can actually help us to think, to learn language and to learn different things. It is multidimensional. To conclude this topic, we can conclude that metaphor and embodied experience are essential aspects of human cognition and language use. They actually help us to understand difficult ideas through the examples or through the experiences that we are very much familiar with. Whereas our bodily experiences and their grounds, they actually make our understanding of metaphorical expressions in our physical interactions in the world. Through our physical interactions, we actually can learn the metaphorical expressions. So there is an interplay between metaphor and embodiment, and it can actually, by this we can understand the relationship between language perception and cognition. It is a very deep rooted relation between three things. As we recognize the power of metaphorical expressions and their connection to embodied experience, we gain a deeper understanding of how language shapes our understanding of reality and vice versa. So metaphor is seemingly, it looks like a very simple or very harmless or very ordinary subject, but it is not only used as a poetic device or figure of speech. Until now, you all only knew about metaphor as a figure of speech or as a literary device. But actually, in daily life, to understand different things, concepts, you are often given examples of metaphors. To understand abstract ideas, you often are given examples of concrete ideas. Not examples, but actually giving the analogy. So metaphor is very important in understanding the concepts, forming our thought process, also learning language. So this topic is very, very important. You can add more details and you can share with me. That's all for today.